Whew, okay, Olaseni, bro. Welcome to another episode of UnderDogs Into Winners. I'm your host, Ahira Foster. Today, we have a very special guest in the A-Game studios for our live stream. Hello.
I think I lost you a little bit.
You lost me for a little bit. Oh, man. Okay, Olaseni, bro. Appreciate you for joining here with us today, man.
For
Now,
sure. Thank you
just
for
give you,
having
of course, man, to give you a little introduction about Olaseni. Olaseni, you know, is a Microsoft intern, and you just finished that internship. But before we kind of get into the nitty and gritty of that, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So from the top, I was actually born and raised in Nigeria.
Okay.
Grew up there my whole life. Kind of moved to the US in 2016 for college. So I'm an international student here. Started college in 2017. Decided I'll go to UDC. So I'm actually graduating this December. CS major. So thankful for that. But
yeah.
Outside of that, just been trying to find my path or find a career path or what really interests me. So dabbled in a lot of different things that I'm sure we're going to talk about today. So internships and just different fields, like engineering, data visualization, products and stuff like that, and now I'm currently a product manager. So I just finished my internship at Microsoft, kind of like you said. Outside of that, just things like this is what I like doing, just telling my story, sharing my experiences, tips, whatever can help someone out there win as well too. So pretty much that.
Yeah, for sure. And then before we go into your education and career background as well, right? Well, tell us a little bit about what do you miss about home the most? Being here in the States, what do you miss about Nigeria?
My friends, for sure.
Your friends? Okay.
I mean, I grew up with all of them my whole life. A lot of people went to the same primary school together, secondary school together. So there's a lot of people that I've known for 10 plus years and things like that. So yeah, definitely my friends.
No, I understand that. So one big question, right? So back home in Nigeria, what sports did you play?
So I played soccer. I mean, I think almost everyone in Nigeria plays soccer. It's like these sports. So yeah, I definitely played soccer, but track was the main thing that I did the most. I actually ran track a lot. It was probably my favorite sport. Back in high school, I used to watch Usain Bolt videos and things like that. I was actually track captain in high school too, as well too. So
for sure,
it was pretty interesting for me.
What was some of the events that you did back in track?
100 and 200.
100 and 200. Okay, so you got that. You got the speed. So you.
Something like that.
Something like that.
We're not going to talk about the fast now.
But okay. Actually, I was going to tell you a funny story, just because the fact that I'm from Panama, right? I'm not from Panama. My dad's from Panama. So Panama, again, baseball and soccer is a huge thing in Panama. So again, playing FIFA, they didn't have Panama. So the only two teams that me and my brother would use is either Brazil or Nigeria. Because everyone was fast. And so that's I had to share that fun fact.
That's fine. Yeah, the World Cup edition was actually nice, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, shout out to Big Yay. That's my older brother's nickname. So huge influence. So okay, so what age did you come to the United States?
Wow, I mean to do math. Probably around 16, 17-ish. Yeah.
Okay, for sure. And this was 2015?
2016.
Yeah. Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
And then so how were you able to adjust, being here in the States?
Adjust?
Yeah.
Honestly, initially, I think it was actually kind of hard, and I didn't even know that. I just kind of thought back and try to I guess process all of that, because kind of like I said, I went to the same primary school, which is probably I don't know, elementary school here, something like that, and then went to the same secondary school, high school with certain people. So I've always had my new groups of friends. I was never the new kid. I played soccer and I just knew a lot of people around my neighborhood and in school. I was track captain, so it's just I was used to a lot of things. I was never a new person. I had a community, I had friends, all of that kind of stuff. So just kind of uprooting out of that into the US, into a whole new different space, I think was it was really different. But at the end of the day, it was probably kind of hard, just figuring out stuff, and things were different. Soccer is not the biggest sports in America. It's the NFL and the NBA. I didn't watch that back home, so it was trying to adjust to all of that, trying to figure out how it was. I remember my uncle telling me about people just talk about sports a lot in America. So if you watch a lot of sports, you'll be able to start a lot of conversations and build a lot of relationships. That was actually how I started watching the NFL and the NBA. Understood nothing about it, but I just started picking it off, seeing it more, and now I'm a huge, huge fan. Like I'm buying jerseys and I'm watching the playoffs at 12 o'clock. It's pretty crazy, but that's really helped because even when I started school, that was kind of how I started talking to people initially. I remember this one class I was in my first semester, and it was like the NBA season almost coming up, kind of like in the fall, and people were talking about, go to school in DC, like, oh my God, the Wizards are going to be bad again and stuff like that. But just because I've been watching a lot of sports, I was able to pick that up, spark conversations. Those were the first people I knew, and started exchanging assignments with them. From that, things started to grow. So pretty much those kind of things. I definitely say sports was definitely something that helped me just kind of adapt in a sense. And I guess also just kind of being patient. Like I was in a new country. Like I don't think anyone has really just gone to a whole new country or continent and figured it out in like weeks or stuff like that. So it kind of takes time. And I don't even think, I feel like I'm still getting into it for the most part because I've only been here for 4 years-ish. So yeah.
Well, hey man, you've been here 4 years, but you made a huge impact just based off your resume and then getting to know you. So we'll touch more upon that. But you made a good point about, when you had to learn sports and like kind of speak the language here in the States, right? Again, soccer's not the biggest thing here, but basketball, football, it is, right? But you made the thing that it's a commonality that you had to really join in folks to really like feel welcomed and attached and this and that. But so when you first came to the States, right? Did you what school did you initially want to go to?
This is actually a very funny story. I actually wasn't planning on coming to the States. So yeah, when I was in Nigeria, the one thing I knew was I was gonna go study outside of Nigeria, just because I felt like the opportunities for me were out of Nigeria. Nigeria's education is like top notch, but like finding the opportunities are not the same way. Like get into like interview with companies like Facebook and intern over there and like Google and be on calls with like CEOs. It was like I just didn't think I could get that. So I was always gonna go out to another place. So Canada was actually my first choice, mainly because I just think the Canadian immigration laws are a lot easier and like not easier, but like more friendly to like international students and things like that. So that was the plan. But after high school, I took a gap year, kind of did the SATs, TOEFL, and all of that kind of stuff. And then, it's one thing led to another. Long story short, the process for Canada kind of got messed up. We missed the application deadlines and all of that kind of thing. Right. So that got messed up. But the person where I did the A-levels, and this is like a UK exam, it's just like, oh, you're already taking the exam. Why not just go to the UK? So I actually applied to schools in the UK and got into 2 schools. And I was about to go there. But the UK is a lot more expensive. So it's just like it's pounds and stuff like that compared to like the Naira and things. And my brother was already here. So I was just like, I'm in the US already and stuff like that. Why not just come here? So when I came here initially, I was like October or whatever. Like schools had already closed. But I was like, I graduated high school 2015. Like I'm getting to college. I took the gap year, but I need to go to college. Like spring of 2017, I wasn't going to wait. So my school was actually like one of the few schools that was still open and the application deadline had not closed yet. So I pretty much just like, and I didn't really look that far because my brother lived in Maryland. So it was just DC, Maryland, Virginia schools kind of. I was one of the few ones that was still open. So just kind of applied, got in, and that's kind of how I'm here now.
That's a wild journey because you could just end up showing like, again, you're leaving home, but the thing is you have options of Canada, the UK, and the United States. And you just don't know where you're going to end up. But thankful that you ended up here. Getting to know us, and then you getting associated with Wonsulting, but everything took off for you, right? So going into school, what initially? I remember during our pre-interview conversation, what were you initially going to school for, and then what you ended up changing?
I think I was gonna go for electrical engineering just because I was actually kind of confused. Like it was like. I think when we're coming into college, a mistake we make is we just feel like, oh my God, we have to pick the right major and that's going to be the end of it. Like you can change your major multiple times and end up finding what you like. That's like a misconception that people don't have to have. But I didn't think that way. It was always, I didn't want to make a mistake. I had to pick the perfect thing. So I didn't know exactly what I wanted. What I did know is I liked science and I just liked tech, and math and physics were like my favorite subjects at that time. Like I just thought, this is what I'm good at. This is what I enjoy. So why not electrical engineering? But also it's kind of what I was saying, in Nigeria, like the tech game is not just as advanced as it is here in the US. So I was kind of oblivious to that kind of stuff. I didn't really know what the tech industry was like, but my uncle does tech. And so I had a conversation with him and he just kind of like led me into a lot of stuff. And I was like, oof, that's interesting. So let's try computer science. I was already curious about stuff. I thought math, I was good at that and things like that. So it's like, yeah, why not computer science? So just kind of went into computer science. But before that, I'd never done anything. Like I'd never programmed, did like tear computers apart, none of that. But it was good.
Yeah, so kind of breaking into computer science, right? And then like getting into that whole ordeal. What's some advice would you tell someone when they're switching majors from like, you know, from another STEM major to another into computer science? What's your advice for them? Like how to get started?
Oh, I mean, how to get started from changing from one major to another major? Just know, I mean, if you whatever you're doing, like if you're changing from a completely new major to another one, like there's gonna be difficulties initially. You know, like I think you might not want to change initially just because, like, oh my god, it might be hard. I might have to learn. Like, just like if you can overcome that initial hump, like you'd enjoy it. You know, like also there's like myth about how hard it is programming and things like that. Like if you are changing to a major like computer science, where it's like you don't have to be a software engineer. You know, if you're interested in art and design and creative stuff, you can do UX, UI, and things like that. You know, if you really like the data science and data just fascinates you, this data science, data analyst, things like that. So just overcome that initial hump of like the fear of like, oh my god, is this gonna set me back? And don't rush your graduation dates and like things like that. Oh my god, if you can, like, you know, if it's not like financial issues holding you back, scholarships and things like that you do have to worry about, you know, if it's like, oh, it's gonna give you an extra 6 months, like just don't rush it, you know, like do what you really want to do, because that's really what's going to set you up. What you don't want to do is stick with that major and like, you know, 4 years down the line, I wish I changed, all because like 6 months and that fear and things like that. So don't rush the time at all.
You bring up a good point, right? I think the stigma that we have, especially in our society here in the States, is that we rush it, right? We got to finish in 3 years, got to finish in 4 years. And if you don't finish within that time limit, then, you know, it's kind of like a failure, or like stuff like that. Or like I'm not graduating like my peers. But really, like when you're saying don't rush it, take your time and enjoy the process. You really have to, just because I think it's being a student is fun, because now being in the workforce, especially with layoffs and stuff like that, dude, it's so hard. And you see so many people going back to school because of the current climate.
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, you bring up a really good point as well. So it's just like following up on like the don't rush it thing. Like college can be hard, yes, like we all know, but there's really good parts of it, you know, like the conversation you can spark up with people just by telling someone I'm a student, like they're inclined to like, oh, let me give the person information. There's so many perks of being a student that you can utilize, you know. So if you use like an extra year to like just go at your own pace. And another mistake you kind of said is about graduating my own peers. Like, why would you be worried about your peers? Like, say I'm in computer science now, my peers are like banking or finance. We're not even going in the same path, you know. I'm graduating 4 years and me graduating 6 years. We don't want the same things. So it's okay if I graduate 6 years if I know, okay, I'm going to end up getting into where I want immediately after my 6 years. Versus, or maybe after the 4 years, they're taking an exam, they're going to grad school, like we're on different paths. So just like, you know, focus on yours and like do yours for the most part.
Yeah, focus on yours and do yours, right? And so focusing on your route, just focusing on your road. And then so now that, you know, you start getting into part of your participation that you're doing is that you're president of the National Black Society of Engineers, or
National Society of Black Engineers.
Dude, how'd you get into that? That's what's up.
So it's funny, NSBE is actually a very big organization in the US. There's about 330 chapters across like different universities all around the world. I mean, all around, I think it's the US or the world. I mean, don't quote me on that, but there's different chapters all across the world. Literally, like I've spoken to a chapter in like Nigeria before and things like that. So it was a really big thing. But what happened was like after my second internship, like, you know, this is when I was starting to get more of a taste of like how to utilize or how to maximize potential in college and things like that. And the advice that someone gave me was just join all the organizations, you know, just join, get experience, meet people, take on leadership roles, experience and things like that. So, you know, NSBE was one that just kind of, you know, I got attracted to because it's like, you know, Black Power, Black Pride, like National Society of Black Engineers, like that's empower more people and things like that. So, you know, at that point, the chapter of my school was actually almost dead. Like the administration before us didn't like properly hand over and things like that. So we had to like start it all over again, you know, find like-minded people, like a whole board of people that, you know, were really interested in the whole game as well. And it was really just like build community with people, you know, also just like provide people with information. Because one thing I do believe is like there are opportunities and there are also people, but what we don't really have is that bridge that connects both of them. So in a way, NSBE was like one of those things for me. So that's kind of how I got into it, and, you know, just kind of enjoyed the whole process and like leadership experience as well too.
Yeah, so actually speaking of leadership experience, right? And then with NSBE, how much has that affected your leadership? And then what's something that you learned a lot about being in a leadership role?
It's definitely affected. I think I learned a lot. One thing that I would say is, you know, it looks easier than it is. It's not as easy because it's super hard to, I think, just be president of an organization and like have to be in charge of like your peers, but you don't necessarily have power over them. So if that makes sense. It's just like, there's a VP, there's a secretary, there's a treasurer, there's a community involvement chair, there's a program chair. And like to get all of these people and all of us to do the work together and make sure that everyone is on their stuff while I'm not necessarily their boss, while they have school, personal life and things like that. It kind of shows you empathy, like how to take away work from this person and give it to this person, how to make sure everyone is on the same page, how to like communicate better, how to like, lead by example when people see that, okay, he's doing his, okay, we probably should get on ours and stuff like that. So it kind of just shows you a lot, especially just because you don't have power over them.
See, okay, you bring up keyword, right? Power, right? That's a key thing. Because the thing is, when you come from a leadership role, you're really just trying to help help your peers, and also as well kind of utilize their strengths and how can you guys come together with a common goal. But I feel like people that are put into leadership roles and the power tripping, like I do as I say and stuff like that, and it's just like, dude, no, I can't follow a leader like that. Power trips.
It's short. I think it's short lived initially. You might be to say, "Oh my God, I'm president, do this," but it's not going to last. At one point, they're just going to be like, okay, I don't want to do it anymore, and what now? It's just like you don't want that to be your approach, and it doesn't leave a good taste as well. Because like everything at the end of the day is a learning experience. Now it's just like me being president of NSBE. Maybe the person says, "Oh my God, they're leaving. What if I'll CEO of a company? Is that how I'm going to act?" Like it just kind of building blocks and stuff like that. So just taking that like little small scenario and just thinking, this is going to help me in the future. I like doing it right, or at least just trying to learn from the most part. But yeah, absolutely.
For sure, man. And then so with your experience with NSBE, and then you switched majors to computer science. Now let's get into the knit and grit of your career. You interned at Microsoft this past summer, and it's definitely a different type of internship because because of COVID we had to do you're doing a virtual internship. Absolutely. So tell us what the internship position was, and how'd you and that experience.
My internship experience, I think it was really good. Like I enjoyed it, even though it was virtual and things like that. I think the virtual, I was bummed out initially about it because it was like I was so hyped to be in Seattle, to be on the campus, to meet the people, and just kind of things like that. But to kind of hear that, it was going to be virtual first, I was bummed, but also it's perspective. There's a lot of internships that got canceled. It's just like I could get this canceled, but I still have it. I still get this experience in this kind of time. I still get to see Microsoft. So I was really happy about that. And just like, to still have it. So it was like, okay, now we have to adapt and make the best use of it. But it was a really good experience, just like seeing the company. I think a lot of those companies, you hear a lot about like them outside of the company, but it's a different feeling when you're inside down to kind of compare those things, like, oh, what I heard, what I was told, and also kind of like how, when you're, especially because I worked in the PM space, sometimes you're just like, oh my God, this company's big and rich, they should be able to fix this and fix that, it kind of shows you how they really have resources and how they distribute their resources and kind of like the thought process of like how they get things done and why certain decisions are made. So it was a really great experience just to get all of that insight and really see it. So absolutely loved it.
For sure. And that would have been an experience itself, being out of Seattle, but, hopefully, sometime later on down the line. Absolutely. So then when you got into Microsoft, right, did you apply just like regular, just applicant sending in your application, or did you kind of use the tips and methods at Wonsulting that you learned from Wonsulting?
I mean, I like, this is like something I see all the time. You can apply to companies like Microsoft and Google and things like just like all the big names and stuff, but I think it's super hard to get found just because a lot of people are applying as well. Like, the one thing is, it's not even that you're not good enough. It's just that you're not getting seen when you don't like do more. So the one thing you want to do is like make sure you get seen. So for myself, like getting into Microsoft this time was actually my third time applying. The first two times I didn't get in and I just applied randomly. But this third time I applied through a conference because I feel like, when you're going through a conference, like when you go to a conference and certain companies are coming, it's now a secluded group of people, not just all the applicants anymore. And now there's a resume database where the companies can see those people. So that was kind of how I got mine. And then, I interviewed there. It was a great interview and then passed the final round in Seattle and then it just kind of went well. So yeah, how I went there was pretty much just using a conference, and it's something that I'd advise everyone to kind of do, like either go through a conference or get a referral or, use your school's recruiter. If they don't have a recruiter, just reach out to people, build relationships with people that can give you a referral or that can introduce you to maybe a recruiter that can help you, because truly those are the ways that I think, you can stand out and really give yourself a shot.
Yeah, and it's honestly when you're saying building relationships, it's not just like, trying to have them do something for you. Yes, that's an initial thought, but it's also really building a friendship. That's genuine because you never know the relationship that you build with that person, you can utilize that 5 years from now, right?
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. It's just like, which is why, I wouldn't advise like, oh my God, he's recruiting now in September and now I'm going to start networking because I'm trying. It's like, relationships take a long time to build, these are things that you want to
Yeah.
cultivate, so you want to like, you reach out, you meet people at conferences, if you, and like, it's not everyone you're going to have a great vibe with and you're just going to let that slide, but certain people you just have a connection with, and you follow up, update them on what you're doing, they update you on what they're doing, ask questions, you give value and like they give you value as well. And it's just like a two-way street, and from there, both of you are able to cultivate that relationships into like, propelling yourselves into doing whatever you want to do. So yeah, absolutely.
That's exactly it. And then so the next thing was I was going to ask was, what was it like, working with other interns virtually? Because I understand, like, during the internship experience, it's just nice to be able to, like, network with other interns from other schools. But the fact that, you're working from home, what was it like working with other interns?
I was actually, it was interesting because I ended up actually, my project, I was the only person that worked on my project, like the only intern, I kind of had my own project and had my
Oh,
own
okay.
stuff like that. But, kind of still to that question, like interacting with other interns, it was interesting, but I think other companies, like a lot, especially I can speak for Microsoft because that's where I worked, they did a really good job trying to at least get us to interact. There was like multiple group chats and we felt empowered to create stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm a sports fan. So I created like a sports channel for like interns. All we
Yeah.
did was just like drop memes and gifs of like the games and like,
Hmm.
NBA and sports and hockey. And like I didn't used to watch hockey, but I learned about hockey from like people in that group chat, things like that. So it was really good. We had this whole program that was like called like core creation and stuff like that, where interns were encouraged to build their own, like, what do you want to do during a virtual event? Like, do you have a virtual event in mind? You can push it forward and they'll help you bring it to life. You can interact with other interns. So that was like one of the ways that interns could really connect, the intern chat and all of that kind of good stuff. So it was really good to still, kind of take advantage of that and be able to, of course, it's not like the in-person thing, but, I think we still did kind of a really good job to still like connect virtually.
Hey, first of all, you work with what you got, right? And then so that's the thing that you got. So what, like, if you don't mind, kind of talking about that, what was the project that you were able to work on at Microsoft? Unless
Oh
there's
yes. So I actually can't talk about that
yeah,
because
yeah,
like
that's what I thought. That's
it's
what
like
I
an
thought.
Indian stuff. But for the most part, it was just me learning more about like I worked on like Azure and like virtual machines and like
Hmm.
operating systems and things like that, which wasn't a space that I was familiar with for the most part. But I kind of really enjoyed it because it was like super demanding and it was like out of my comfort zone to the most because I hadn't even taken that class yet because I'm just like,
Yeah.
I don't think I'm gonna like this class. And I end up getting put on a project where that's the kind of stuff I'm gonna be doing. So it's just like, oh wow, okay, I guess it caught up to me eventually. So just kind of had to like, I guess, make the best of that opportunity. But it was pretty good. I enjoyed it.
For real, honestly, the best way to learn it is through the experience, and you got through the experience, and
I'm,
then imagine what you got, how you can take that experience into a classround.
I'm
Whew.
taking that. I'm taking that class now, and I feel great.
You feel great. That has to be an easy A, bro. For real.
Absolutely, that's the plan.
That's funny, man. But and then so from your Microsoft internship, right? Now I want to highlight some of the articles that you've been able to be a part of. You were recently featured in the Wall Street Journal article. So tell us a little bit more about that Wall Street Journal article, and then how you got into that.
That was great actually. It was a good experience, I kind of have to take that all in. But I
Yeah.
think the biggest thing that I kind of learned from that experience though was kind of what we just talked about now. Like really having a strong network and like, having great friends and like being able to provide value and give value to you because, I think Wall Street had planned to write about just like interns experience virtually and kind of like how they were feeling. And I don't really know the thought process between how they like found the people and things like that. So, it was a friend of mine was one of the people that he had reached out to and things like that. And he just recommended, like, I know another intern that'd be great for this kind of story and stuff like that. And he
Right.
referred them to me. And then the Wall Street Journal reached out, we kind of did the interviews, like, they asked the questions, kind of answered, and that got published. So it was a really interesting experience just kind of be able to tell my story and also read about other interns that kind of feel the same way I feel in a
Yeah.
virtual setting and things like that. But it was just super awesome for my friend, like threw the alley hoop for me. And I was like, okay, cool. Love
The alley oop, and then he dunked it like
yeah.
LeBron. You got that alley oop, and that's such a good experience. Because the thing is, Wall Street Journal isn't, it's not a national, but it's a worldwide newspaper that people love to view on. It's not just through a paper route, but it's also through virtual, right?
Yeah,
And speaking of virtual, we actually got a question from an audience member. Shout out to Adi, co-founder of A-Game Media. What advice do you have for other students for navigating virtual internships?
I think, you want to be, one thing I definitely that comes to mind first is you want to have like really honest conversations, I guess, with like your manager or with your mentor, and like let them really know what your situation is. Because one thing I realized is different things are gonna pop up during the internship, but at the end of the day, you're just gonna be evaluated on the 12 weeks, like what you produce and stuff like that. And they might forget that week 6 where maybe you were sick or maybe you weren't able to produce because of one thing. So just being able to really communicate and let people know what's happening. Like there was a week where I couldn't really do a lot of work because it was a lot of like racial tension and stuff like that. And I was just affected. And I let my boss know that kind of thing, just so, when that kind of comes in, because if I just didn't do work in week 2, they might just thought, oh, maybe I was lazy or maybe I wasn't trying to get into it. But kind of letting them know how I'm feeling, what is going on is definitely one thing. Another thing is, and I didn't do this really well, but I'd advise people to do it. It's kind of like learn to set the boundaries, like just me on the East Coast working with a West Coast team, like, and this isn't even on them, this is on me because they're like trying to help me, but I kind of just got lost in the process trying to respond to an email at 8 p.m. because it's still 5 p.m. there, and me starting work at 10, and now I'm already working like super long hours, and it just kind of and this is like the hard thing about being virtual, like you find yourself working like so many hours, but just finding a way that you can do stuff outside of work. Maybe you stop work at 6, so you go for a run, or you watch a show or something like that. So really find ways that you can create boundaries, like this is work and this is how I'm going to operate outside of work as well, is definitely one thing that you want to do. So those kind of two, I guess, come to mind as well. Also the projects, like definitely like evaluate your projects and like let them know, like, okay, this I can get done. If you get 6 weeks down the line and it looks like it's a lot that's happening, like talk to your manager, like, oh, can we redo this, or can we like realign on like my deliverables and stuff like that. So always make sure there's alignment between you and like the people that are like the key stakeholders that you have for the most part.
Right. That's some really good stuff right there. Because the thing is, the key thing, communication with your manager, and then boundaries is one thing. Because my thing is like when I was an intern, like 3 years ago, right? At this company called Sanvio. I was doing the full-time internship 9 to 5, and one of the hardest things was taking myself out of work and then like keeping stuff out of the office and taking it with me back home, and like working on projects outside of the workplace, and even just some work, I want to say just work problems, just being able to detach yourself. So so were you able to detach yourself a little bit from closing the laptops and actually being able to be like personal, like engage with personal friends? Or
I don't think I did it well enough. Like I just don't think I did. And like I said, this is on me. It's me trying to do the best work and me trying to like be on top of things all the time. And I kind of just got lost in that for the most part. But like I think my boss, like I said, was really great with it. Like try to like I guess even help me navigate that, because we kind of did this thing where every day you'll be like, oh, what are you planning to do today, kind of outside of work? So that kind of kept me mindful, like, oh, I said I was going to run today, so maybe I should just go run now. So that way I was able to like stop and then go run, or I was going to work out, I was going to get a haircut, stuff like that. So that was really helpful to kind of say, okay, today, this is what I'm going to do outside of work. So that helps me be mindful and try to like hit that goal.
For sure. And that's a good thing. Like honestly, I think the best thing I could say in terms of like virtual is keep that same old routine that you had, like even if you weren't doing virtual internship, right? If you can work out, now get it done in the morning, then tune in to you had your lunchtime. One of my favorite things at LinkedIn was that lunch hour, and just hanging out with the other interns or being able to hang out with the other employees and just picking their brain. Just implement a routine that helps you, so that way you kind of detach a little bit, because there's a lot more to it than just a virtual internship and the job. Sure. But that's something I have to say. But
don't even be, I was gonna say, like, don't even be hard on yourself for the most part. Like, you can find yourself like, maybe not adhering to the plan and stuff like that, but just like, take it day by day and just go again the next day for the most part.
For sure. That is true, man. Actually, so you brought up a point where during like when you started your internship, you started in May, right? May. So that's when you started. And then so a lot of racial tension was happening during that time. And like that, you were affected, as a young Black male too as well. I was affected, but how were you able to kind of remain focused, knowing that all this was happening?
I wasn't. I literally wasn't. It was just a day by day thing. And like I said, it was what I kind of had to do was just communicate with like key stakeholders and stuff that was going on. I think one thing that we've kind of been, a lot of people have been used to these days is we just like put stuff in certain boxes. Like, okay, I'm just gonna do my work. Okay, I'm gonna feel after. I just couldn't do that. Everything just kind of like clashed. It was just a lot of emotions going on, and I was feeling a lot, and like I couldn't really focus on work because this is how I was feeling. So I wouldn't say like I was able to like perform in that space. It was just like, this is kind of how I'm feeling. This is what is going on. This is why I couldn't do the best work in week 2, but I'll definitely try to pick it up in week 3. So just like, just being like super honest with that, if I needed a half day, try to just take it for the most part and like, really process and like really just, because if you don't process your emotions, it's just gonna like keep affecting and like that takes on for a long time. I don't think it was hard for anyone to really figure out like, how do I get this done? It wasn't something you do in 1 week or whatever. So I pretty much just say, I just went with emotions, what I was feeling and like, let it take its course for the most part.
Hey, I'm gonna be genuine right here. When you said you weren't able to remain focused, right? I was when all this was happening, when George Floyd was killed, when all these the protests were happening, I was let know that I was laid off that Memorial Day weekend going into it.
Wow.
So so you have these emotions all over the place, kind of like, man, what do I do now? I feel like America hates me. My job just let me know, and it's not based off of my performance, but I didn't put myself in a position where I could be able that essential worker, right? So you have all these emotions coming together, and sometimes you don't understand how to deal with it. Sometimes you kind of put it away and lock it away. I'm lucky that I have a therapist to be able to talk about. Therapy is a key thing that keeps that mental health going on. But some individuals, they lock their emotions away and not deal with it. So during that time, and even future wise as well, what were you able to do to kind of keep it to just make yourself feel better, just in general as a person?
Just talk to a lot of people. I think one thing that I'd say, just with this and like just life in general, like a lot of times you're not the only person going through it. So just talk to someone, like you find someone that's feeling the same way, or, just that 30 minutes rant or event session that you have, FaceTime or a Zoom call or whatever, can be really helpful for you. Maybe after that time, it takes your mind off things for a little bit, you're able to cope. So I definitely say just talking to people was definitely something that, really helps me. And like you said, just like, don't lock it away. Like, it's emotion. Just feel it, let it come through, let it take its course, learn, understand, process, and then you can go from there. But yeah, talking to people is definitely like a key thing that I did in that space. Just like keep myself sane, check up on others as well, because a lot of people is feeling it. So just to kind of keep both of us in check and stuff like that.
Yeah, a venting session is a great way, and talking to people, and that's why you communicate that and just really talking about your emotions. And then speaking of that, recently, we produced an article and talking about that. Your favorite book is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. And then so what were you able to learn from that book about emotional intelligence, and how did you apply it towards, through the situation that we're facing through May and June, and moving forward?
It's kind of like I said, just I think another thing that it is for me is growing up, just like, as a man or stuff like that, you hear how you're not really supposed to feel, or how emotions don't make you strong, and feeling all of these things, So pretty much the biggest lesson is just like feeling like being able to deal with it. That's actually the strength, not pushing it away. If you feel a certain type of way, you just box it off and throw it away. That's not strength, but like being able to like deal with it, process it, understand it. Maybe you want to channel that, or you want to improve in certain things, or you want to like just be better. Like that really is where the work is. And a lot of times like people run away from that. That's why you don't want to deal with it. It's a really hard process, but just learning how to do that and not beating yourself up for it. Like, some of those things take time to like understand and really like, figure out how to use it for the best or for like better things like that. So I would definitely say just like being able to process emotion versus just like locking it away or just things like that. And just not adhering to like the societal constructs that we have, like, oh, men don't show emotions, or men don't feel, or men are not supposed to get depressed. Like that's not true. So yeah.
Processing emotions is a key word that you just said right there, right? I think the best thing I can say from one of my favorite books is called Warrior of Light, and that's the same author from The Alchemist. And he wrote something about, when you feel hate or anger, right? Invite it in, let it into your home, and just sit down with it. Why do I feel hate? Why do I feel anger? And the thing is, if it doesn't, because it doesn't define, that anger or hate doesn't define you, and then when you slowly have that conversation with yourself, walk away. And when I was able to implement that for myself, I became a lot more light about being able to handle my anxiety and depression, and then being able to put that away and be like that doesn't define me. You decide what you define yourself, and that's part of handling your emotions. So that's something I have to say sometimes, is being able to, for as EQ, your emotional intelligence, is to come to terms with it, invite them in, and then from there, walk away from them.
Absolutely, that's actually really good. It's kind of like an approach that I take. I take that approach as well too, with like different things, because I know sometimes, and it's like, I think it's a human thing, especially you talked about like using LinkedIn a lot. There's this, it's just a thing that we do, especially this generation. Is like, oh my god, my mates are doing this. Oh my god, my mates are doing that. And this kind of thing, I like, oh my god, I'm not doing enough. Oh my god, I feel like I'm getting jealous, and like people just feel like, oh, that's a bad emotion to have, just like push it away. It's like, no, like, kind of like you said, invite it. And it's like, why do I feel the way I'm feeling? Like, why do I feel like I'm not doing enough? Is it because I'm truly not doing enough, or am I putting too much pressure on myself? Like, that helps you, just unpack a lot of stuff and really just go in the right direction. So of course, like, inviting it is a really good thing.
Yeah, for sure. And being too hard on yourself is an actual real thing, right? And so being able to like learn compassion, like we have this thing where we're supposed to learn compassion for others and empathy, but even learning compassion for yourself and empathy for yourself is a major key, navigating through society, everything that we deal with. Shout out to my girlfriend Leia. She's the one that told me that. I had some, so you have to sometimes, when she said that advice to me, I really took that to heart. But so moving to a different direction, man. You were able to produce a Medium article on LinkedIn, that ended up getting like 235 likes on it or something like that, which is crazy. From what I'm seeing, right? So you said rejection is redirection. So kind of talk about the inspiration behind that article, man.
It's interesting. Like, yeah, and I talk about rejection being redirection, but I think the biggest message that I was actually trying to pass with that article is, we say that word rejection is redirection, almost like a buzzword now, and we don't even mean it. It's just like, because it's like, oh, something happens to you, you just say, oh, rejection is redirection. Like, that clarity, and like, I talk about the inspiration behind it. I don't think that clarity, but it just comes immediately. First, people maybe you just build like, oh, what is meant for me is going to be for me. If I don't get this, okay, I've been redirected to mine, and then boom. But not everybody is built like that, so don't feel the pressure to, like, if like something happens, like if you wanted to cry about it or vent or be angry, like, go ahead and like, do that. And then, you can get back on the work and get back on the grind and get back on the hustle. And then, what is yours will still come for you. And this was like fall 19, and I was recruiting for like internships. And I started super early, like August, because I wanted to lock down something really quickly. I didn't want to stress in the spring, just so I can work in school and other projects and things like that. So that was the game plan. And, actually, worked hard enough, got lucky, got blessed, all of that kind of good stuff. I started interviewing like quick. Like, I got in, it was like multiple companies that I was able to like get interviews with and things like that I was actually interested in, and then I did 2 final rounds in the same day one time. And I was like 90% sure I was going to get both, at least one. Like, I just felt like I gave it all in my interview. Like, I prepped, I said everything right. I thought, well, I did my research. I had a great connection with the interviewers. We were smiling. It was a conversation. So I just feel like I did my part, and I just thought I was gonna get it. And then both of them I didn't get. Like, and I think I kind of heard, like, just like within days, like I kind of heard that, oh, I didn't get both of them. And I was really down. Like, that hit different. And I heard that was when I kind of got into a scale where I was getting like rejection emails and like other companies, and I was not getting interviews and stuff like that. So it really just kind of stressed me. And at that point, I didn't see that rejection as redirection. I just thought, oh my God, why is this happening to me? Does the universe hate me? Does the world hate me? So that's kind of what I was trying to say. Like, you don't have to like feel that emotion like really quickly, but things kind of worked. I just kind of stayed with the grind. I had a plan, so just kept on executing. Did other interviews, and then things started to come up and things started to pop up on good things, and then it's where Microsoft came in. And it was like, until recently, I'm at Microsoft and I'm just doing certain things, and I'm just like, wow, the opportunity I just got here, and damn, on the Wall Street, and like, you know, it's just like, thank God those places said no, because all of this wouldn't have been happening. So I'm glad I was rejected there, just so I can be redirected to kind of have Microsoft, have this opportunity, do a panel at Microsoft, get a Wall Street job, like just meet these people and like set me up, and like just kind of, and I'm just like, wow, I'm glad that happened. So, you know, that's kind of like the whole process that, you know, some people might be able to see at that point, but it might be until later when certain things start happening that you just get that clarity, like, huh, if I'd actually gone here and some, like one of the companies, I think the internship got shorted, something like that, I'm like, I would not be able to get this experience that I just said in this interview. Like, oh my God, I know a lot more now. So it was just a lot of things coming to me, and I was just like, wow, I really was redirected, because that was really what was meant for me. And I'm glad those people said no.
For sure. And dude, it's hard not to take that to heart. Be like, man, like, because you're talking about the 2 internships, right? And you feel like I'm getting at least one of them. And then you come, you perform, you prep, and you feel like it was great. Like, bro, I interviewed at Facebook back in spring of 2019, March, right? And then one of the recruiters found me, and it was supposed to be this candidate liaison where you take the candidates that you interview with, and then you take them to different parts. So you're just with them the whole entire time at the Facebook campus in Menlo Park. And I thought, dude, this is what I do. This is what I was doing with the Golden State Warriors. This is what I was doing at LinkedIn, bro. Like, this is what I can talk to people. This is what I can do. Network from there. Next thing you know, I perform, got to the final round, got to actually go onto Facebook. And next thing you know, a few days later, they ended up saying it required a degree, right? And unfortunately, I'm still a student and I didn't get the job. But I was so disappointed, because I was like, bro, like, I performed my best. Like, I prepped, I you know, in a sense, and I got to throw my company out there, brought my A game. But sometimes, you know, it's not up to you, right? It's not up to you, it's up to other people.
Absolutely. That's another thing that, you know, recruiting, like, you know, it's control what you can control, but understand that there's so many things out of your control. You know, it could be the interviewer's mood, it can be there will be someone with more experience, or maybe the role is not available, but all you see is that rejection. You don't see all of that. So just know, like, a lot of times it's probably not even you. And these are all things I've had to come to terms with after the fact. But, you know, at that point initially when you're feeling out those emotions, you don't have
You're like, man, forget that. Like, bro, like, what's wrong with me, right? You start bringing all those emotions and trying to blame yourself.
Exactly. So it's a wild thing, to be honest.
Because, like, I have to add, right? You know, like, like last fall I started becoming a man of faith, right? You know, I'm believing in God a lot more, right? And one thing is, you know, sometimes, you know, you have your own plan that you want to set up, right? But sometimes God's plan is probably even a lot more better for you. You know, I remember, like, when I faced a rejection, right? You know, a huge rejection in my life, and I was like, God, you know, let me work on this and that, and let me achieve this, you know. But then, you know, sometimes, you know, it's like, nah, I have something way better for you. And, you know, end up being a year from now, you know, the plan that, you know, that God had was a lot better for me than I had planned for myself. So, you know, sometimes you just have to have faith and just walk by that and just see where you go. And then, like, dude, like, look at you, right? You know, program manager at it was program or product?
Yeah, so it's product, but Microsoft kind of calls it program, so it's the same.
So you were PM, so we just say PM internship at Microsoft, right? And the things you're featured in all these articles. You know, we can damn near say, you know, in people that understand Instagram famous, you're LinkedIn famous, you're LinkedIn famous, and you have all these things coming to force with you, right? But sometimes you gotta let it sit and just, you know, you take your time and look at you, bro. And it's amazing to understand from getting to know you, see the growth that you've been talking about. So that's amazing, bro. So for real, kudos to you, dog. For real.
Definitely.
So, you know, moving forward, man. So how were you able to get started with Wonsulting, and how did you know, get introduced to them?
It was just really an organic relationship. Like, you know, it's kind of like how we just kind of connected. I think the best type of relationships just kind of happen. You don't force anything. To me and Jonathan, like the CEO, we just been on this just Instagram LinkedIn for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, we used to just comment on each other's posts and stuff like that. But Jonathan just being the go-getter that he is, you know, like after I commented on his post one time, it's like, hey man, we've been interacting, you know, like this is what I do. You know, I see that you're president of NSBE, you know, we could actually maybe do something sometime together. You know, I was like, oh yeah, sure, you know, we'll absolutely be down for them. Always open to opportunities and things like that. But, you know, from there, it was just more of a conversation. We set up a call and, you know, like we spoke, and it was a really great conversation. Like, he's smart, dropped a lot of gems and things like that, so I just got that insight, from there, things just started to like build up, over time, got more involved, followed up and things like that, did an event with them, and things just kind of took off, and I just, met more people there, met Jerry and like other things like that. And there's a lot of really great people that are trying to do great things, and that I can just identify with what they're trying to do, just like really give people opportunities, like people that feel like they can really win, and like really make them believe and give them, tools and like resources to really go ahead and win. And like that's impressive stuff. So for sure, I just want to be kind of part of that.
Exactly. And I think the one thing that I have to say about Wonsulting is that they were able to cultivate and really inspire a whole healthy it's an online community, but it's healthy. It's a great environment to be around. And you come face with a lot of like-minded individuals. And that's what I love about the Wonsulting community and what Jonathan and Jerry were able to implement. Because like Jonathan and Jerry actually came to my house. Now shout out to Miles for letting me use the back room as the interview space or the back house. But we were able to have a whole interview with all of them, and just genuinely be able to have that conversation. That podcast episode is still out on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. I gotta get these little things so people could go. But
absolutely.
So, but it was able to see what true leaders are able to implement. You know what I mean? And they live by that each and every day. They wear that company Wonsulting on their sleeves, literally. So they have apparel for that.
They should.
So yeah. So the thing is with our mini series, right? Underdogs into winners. That's Wonsulting slogan, Underdogs into winners. You're considered an underdog. How is it? Did you embrace that role of being an underdog? And do you kind of keep that dog mentality, keep on fighting and going forth?
Yeah, that's a tricky question. To be honest, I think it's kind of like just a tag, like I said. But I think the part of what you just kind of said now that really kind of resonates with me as well is like, how do you just kind of keep that mentality and just kind of go and things like that? For me, one of the things I kind of feel like, we talked about this earlier, being in a demographic of like things are just designed for you to win. We talked about like, America kind of not being designed for like Black people to win, and like all the systemic racism, all of this kind of things. But not only am I Black, I'm an immigrant from Nigeria that gets a lot of kind of things. I'm Muslim as well. Like I'm in this circle of like, oh my God, like it's really not beautiful to win and that type of thing. But I've also seen like this Gary V thing that he had said one time is just like, you can get dealt with certain cards, and like, you can soften this cards like, oh my God, this is what I have. Or you can just accept like, okay, that's it. And where do we go from here? And like, how do I win from here? And what do I implement from here? That just kind of mindset with me is just like, okay, this is where I am now. Okay, I don't go to non-target school. Cool. Now, how do I get it done? Like, what do I need to get done? How can I be better? Like, what other approach can I take to make sure I'm giving myself the best shot? Like, I didn't move all the way from Nigeria to America to just kind of like, just accept the fee or just like, let something hold me back. It's just like we keep going, and that's just kind of how I was built, I guess. So like keeping and pushing. I'm like, I really do want to create impacts. Like, I want kind of like what I was saying, that even though that's kind of like the perception, but I want like just Black boys and Black girls across the world, Nigeria and just everywhere, to just kind of see people in leadership roles and like in powerful spaces and just feel like, okay, if Shani can do it, I can do it as well, kind of thing. So absolutely, it's just like a goal that kind of drives me. So yeah,
I like that. I like that mindset. I like that mentality, because I think one thing I have to say is that we need a lot more Black engineers, a lot more Black doctors, a lot more Black lawyers. You know what I mean? Just trying to go law school route right here. And it's a long process, but the thing is, we need more of that in our community. They had a Nike commercial about that. I think they were like, we don't need another LeBron James. We don't need another, Neymar or something like that. We need more you. We need more of like people, educated individuals that are going to, like what Conor McGregor said. I'm a big fight fan. I have to say this. We didn't come to take part. We came to take over, and take over in terms of being a part of these communities, being a part of the jobs that we can really create our own companies, our own businesses, and really fight against the fact that there's a system. It's not broken. It was just built against us.
No, I really like what you said, just FYI, I might be using that, in the future, because
No, do your thing, bro.
when they come take over, we can take over. Like, absolutely love it. It's kind of like, yeah, this is what's been happening. But, and I kind of got that advice from like an internship that I did. This man had told me, like, he was a white man actually, and he told me, like, he can teach me a lot of stuff, and like, he can like mentor me. But some areas I just won't be able to connect with him just because he doesn't have the same background, or he doesn't truly understand the story. But if he was a black man up there, I'm definitely going to get a different feeling from that. So he was encouraging me to go ahead and make sure that all the black kids that come after me can get that feeling from me and get that kind of like energy. So it's really just what I try to do with myself, just try to do the best that I can, but also just make sure that, people around me are good. Like one of my favorite quotes is like a J. Cole quote. And, he kind of insinuated like, what good is the bread if my brothers and sisters can't eat kind of thing. Like, I really want to get mine, but I also want them to get theirs as well. And like, the more of us that's out there, like the more people can come after that. So
hey, I'm gonna tweet that. Hey, can you send me that quote a little later? Like, bro, I'm gonna tweet that, bro. I'm gonna tweet that.
For sure.
Because I think another thing that we have to look at, right? Just in our communities, us being like black men, is that it's not about us no more, bro. It's not about just myself. There's so many people that play their part into making sure that we're here in this position right now. Us not growing, like doing your internship and going to school, and myself going to school, as well as trying to run an A-Game at the same time. Like our moms, our dads, your brother having being able to house you and stuff like that. They made it a lot easier compared to like, because you have family in the UK or Canada.
No, I don't actually have family.
So exactly. So like
crazy.
Exactly. So there's so many people that it's not about me. Inky Johnson has a whole speech about that. Inky Johnson, former football player and motivational speaker now. I'll send you a video to watch. But now, so you start understanding that since it's not about you, and it's so there's so many people that sacrifice to make sure you're in this position. Man, I gotta give it my all. I gotta give it my all for them and for my community and those people that look up to me. Because there's people that look up to you, bro. And sometimes it's kind of hard to lose sight, saying like, okay, people don't really look up to me. So, but if for real they do. You're LinkedIn famous. People look up to
you. Thank you.
Sure.
I think that's key. It's kind of like one of those motivational quotes you hear as well. It's like, I didn't come this far just to come this far. Like you want to keep going, you want to get more. So absolutely, it's bigger than us now. It's us trying to uplift every one of us doing our part to uplift the whole community, the whole continent of just like us making sure that we can really get ours and we can really make impact. So for sure,
that's exactly it, man. So hey, before we end this live stream, we had a lot of great conversations. Olaseni, bro, I can imagine you if you were here in the Bay Area, you'd be one of my close friends because I just love the vibe that you get off, bro. And we have to race because we have to race in the 100 meter because
I'm with it, I'm with it.
All right, man. But the last question I have to say is what brings out your A game?
I think I said a little bit about it, and we just talked about it. But the people that push me, like my mom has given a lot for me to be where I am. Like she has 5 boys. Like she's given a lot. Like my brother is like put in work. My younger brother, like I want to make sure that I'm setting like examples that he sees and like just inspires him and drives him. So family definitely pushes me, but also like friends as well too. Like people that just like just inspire me. Like there's a lot of people that are doing really amazing things. I think the company that you keep would really help you a lot. Like it's definitely gonna help you. Like I got distracted by that comment, but like the company that you keep is definitely gonna help you. It's like me, knowing you and Adi and things like that. Like I was actually working on a podcast and things like that. So just kind of seeing like what you people do definitely inspires me. So just friends, family, and just like I think, if there's one word I describe myself with, is driven. Like I just have a lot of plans and a lot of goals, and I'm just trying to execute to the best of my ability. So all of those in combination just kind of bring out my A games. And honestly, I also just want to do things that make me happy. So just striving and like, trying to get that definitely also just brings out my A game.
No, that's beautiful right there, man. And for real, shout out to moms for raising 5 boys. That's so crazy, dude.
I'm number 4, so it's crazy.
Are you number 4? Okay, man.
That's wild.
That's wild, dude. So, Olaseni, man, I wanted to say thank you so much for coming on to the show. It really does mean a lot for you to come on, speak your story, and I just can't wait to see where you are in the future, right? Absolutely. And if you ever come to the Bay Area, bro, you got me and Adi, hit us up, man. Let us know.
For sure.
When you also mentioned a comment, there's a comment I'm gonna show. Someone might pull a hamstring in that race. And that's actually my girlfriend that made that comment. It's so funny because I was doing wind sprints outside of the house and I ended up pulling a hamstring.
Wow.
So it's just like, again, lack of stretching, whatever, you know. So she's putting me on blast. So
It's cool, bro. I hope you don't pull abs. I know. I wouldn't love any. I wouldn't want any excuses when the race is done. I want to fool you.
You want the full A-Game, man? Hey,
Absolutely,
bro, that's hilarious, bro. That's hilarious. But Olaseni, dude, again, this means a lot. You know, shout out to Wonsulting. Hey, before you get off, where can people find you on Instagram, LinkedIn?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, you know, it's my first name, last name together, Olaseni Adeniji. Like you can find that. I mean, you can find that handle if you look me up on LinkedIn as well. It's the same name, Olaseni Adeniji. You know, you see me in a suit and all of that. But yeah, that's pretty much me. And Twitter as well. It's just Olaseni AD, and then you can find me.
For sure, man. Olaseni, salute to you, brother.
Definitely appreciate you for doing this. You know, thank you for the time. It was great telling all of the stories and just connecting more, man.
Yeah, for sure, bro. Hey, and you have a good one, all right? Have a good rest of your weekend.
You as well, man.
All right, bye.